Hey everybody, it's Emma here at Function Point in Vancouver. Thanks so much for joining in today's session. I think, again, like yesterday, everyone who I was expecting to be on today's call has already arrived, which is great. Thanks everyone for being so on time to the session. And so we'll get started right away. What we're going to be going through today, this webinar session is called the FP Rundown, just sort of meant to describe what we're going to be going through. It's going to be a pretty quick move through adding an estimate to your system, turning that estimate into a job, associating a schedule to that job, and then tracking some time to that job. So this, for some of you who may be really, really new to the system on the call today, this may be a bit too quick, but for those of you who are eager to be up and running, to know how to get work into your system, I think this will be a really, really good session for you to be joining in on. So as we go through, please let me know if you have questions. You should see a question area in the GoToWebinar control panel, so please feel free to type them in as they occur to you. I'll either answer them right away or I'll make sure that they get answered before we wrap up today. We'll probably go for about a half hour to 45 minutes today, depending on the number of questions that come in. All right, well, hopefully everyone can see my screen. I'm just on the Function Point website right now. And for today's session, I'm going to be going into my test environment. And I'm just going to log in here through the website, which you can certainly do. Just clicking log in. And let's just go to my test environment here. Okay. Excellent. So we've logged in. Please let me know if any screen size isn't big enough for anyone to see. I've landed on my dashboard. I've actually got the Business Intelligence Visuals dashboard going on right now. I'm just going to pop back to the good old classic. Pretty easy. If anyone's eager to play with dashboards, please do. I find them a lot of fun. If you hover over dashboard in your own system, just choose customize dashboards where you can pick and choose from a few that are pre-built, or build your own. And if you start to build them out and don't like them, you can easily delete any dashboard that you're not a fan of anymore. Okay, so let's begin by adding an estimate. I'm going to hover over estimates in the main navigation bar. It's usually the quickest way I find to get to where I want to go is through the main navigation bar. I'm going to choose add estimate. Now, companies are popping out here, and these are companies I've worked with recently, and that's fine. If the estimate I'm creating happens to be for one of those clients, I can certainly select the company here, or I can just choose add estimate, and it's going to take me to the add estimate page here. Now, I've got a combination of fields here. Some are in yellow, those are going to be required. Some are in white, so they're totally optional. I will talk a bit about some of those optional fields, excuse me, as I lose my voice, that we do recommend you fill in. Let's begin by giving the estimate a name. So I'm going to just say promotional posters. Estimate type, I can choose from my drop-down menu here, which I can certainly customize back in the admin section under list maintenance. So I'm going to say these are posters. That's easy. Company, I've got a little magnifying glass here, so I can click on that and see the first 20 companies in my system, or I can put in a partial match and then tab out of that field to get it to complete the name for me. So I'm going to put in WOLVER, tab out, and it's filled in the rest for me, Wolverine's Wood Carvings. I want to have an associated estimate contact. That is one we recommend you fill in, even though it is optional. If I can't remember the name of the person I work with there, again, I can click that little magnifying glass, and there it's put in the name of the one contact I happen to have at that company. AE, I can select from amongst my account executives. I'm just going to pick myself. Project, optional field. If this work was going to be associated to a larger project, I could associate it. We're going to skip that one for now, though. I can pick from amongst my rate cards. I'm going to pick my standard rate. I can pick from amongst as many sets of terms and conditions for estimates as I want to fill in. PO number, close probability. This is a good one if this is work you're bidding on. And I know it's something that we really recommend for people who are doing a lot of prospecting through their FP system is to start putting in a close probability. What we usually recommend is that you put in a number, something like, 10 for 10%, 15, maybe 25, 50, 50%, 95%. You don't necessarily want to have 13s and 72s in there, but try to maybe set up a game plan for yourself and your staff as to what the appropriate number might be, depending on how likely you think it is you're going to win this work. Description, always a good thing to fill in. So client looking for several full color posters for event. This description, what I like about descriptions is that what I put here will pull to the job, and it will also pull to the invoice. It doesn't mean you can't edit this information, but if you only want to type it in once and have it pull to the rest of your work in Function Point, it certainly can. Delivery date, that's a field we recommend you fill in. That's talking about when this work might be due. I'm just going to put it for the end of February. The rest of these fields, such as category, client lead creative, totally optional. I don't usually get too into them in my examples, but again, month close, another really good one to use if this is work you're bidding on and perhaps this work has a certain bid due date or due month that you want to fill that in. The reason I recommend the month close and close probability is because there are a couple of really new but great CRM related reports. And with those two reports, you can search and narrow down your results by close probability and or month close. Excellent. So that's filling in just sort of the main information about this estimate. Now what we want to do is select from amongst our service groups and services. We do need to pick at least one service in order to have this work go through. And what appears in your service group and service list is completely configurable. If I have new users on the call, your system is probably just the base system right now. You'll probably have 4 service groups, including billable time and outside costs, inside costs, and probably non-billable. I've got a few extras in my system here, such as fixed price items that I've put through, and some retainer cost item that I just put through. You can get really creative with these, though, have as much or as little information as you like. I usually lean on the side of less is more and keep it simple, but we certainly have seen clients get really, really detailed as to all the things they offer. What I'd recommend if your system is really new, a good little piece of homework, small H homework, is to look through your service groups and services here at the estimate add page and just ponder as to what maybe needs to go, maybe what needs to be renamed or included in your list. So for my posters here, I'm just going to pick a couple of things. I'm going to say, all right, there's going to be some art direction, some copywriting, some illustration, and there's definitely going to be some printing. So let's put that in too. Once you're ready, you can click submit. And something I like to assure people of is that whatever you're selecting on this page, you're certainly not stuck with. You can always make edits down the road here. Okay, so clicking submit, I've come into now my estimate details page. And something I like to tell new users is that as you're navigating around the system, or maybe as you're being shown around the system by one of our onboarding consultants, if you ever are sort of wondering, wow, where the heck have I landed? What page are we on? Always look in that top left corner, and that's going to give you a good clue as to where you exactly are. You will also often see breadcrumbs. So if we needed to navigate back to the company details page, or the estimate details, or the estimate number, it's all just there. Excellent. Now, what we see most of our clients do at this point is in their service groups and services, start putting in the number of hours it's going to take to get this work completed. So for art direction, I would say, well, I think that's going to be 12 hours of art direction. That number is going to multiply by my rate and start giving me a total. Can do the same for copywriting. I think it's going to be 10 hours of copywriting and probably 8 hours of illustration, let's say. You will see that you do have the ability to override these rates if you need to, and you can also just use the override field. If you were looking at this 1344 and said, oh, that's kind of a weird number, let's just make it 1350. Excuse me, let me type that into the right box, 1350. You can do that and it'll immediately overwrite that amount. You can also, of course, put descriptions in wherever you like at the service group or the service level. Now, something that we do see clients get a little bit stuck with and hung up on occasion is they go, oh, look, I can overwrite these fields. And that's great, sort of in an emergency, needs to be done last minute kind of thing. If you need to rewrite something or overwrite something or change a little word here and there, that is usually quite acceptable. But don't get into the habit of doing that. The reason I say that is because if we were to change, let's say, art direction to be I can't think of something more creative anymore at the moment. How about dog walking? And you kept renaming that to dog walking, and then down the road you said, oh, I want to go and see how much time I've ever tracked towards dog walking. The system is not going to know that that exists. It's still going to see it all as being under art direction. If you want to change or have different options available here, you will need to do that back at the admin level. So be encouraged to make changes to the system rather than just overwrite things as you go. Okay, once you're happy with what you've got here, encourage you to hit save. And what we often see clients do now and encourage them to do is now send this off to your client for review. And there's a few ways you can do that. If you have this client, if I had, James at Wolverine's Wood Carving set up as one of my portal users, just by moving this estimate to a status of submitted, that would share it to him on the portal. The other thing I could do is use this notify client button, which I could use to, again, share to the portal, or I can just use to send a PDF of this estimate to my client via Function Point. I can choose to even build out templates, so I could easily grab a template here and it would fill in all this for me. Your client will need to have a valid email address in order for this to work, though. If you come to this page and you go, hey, wait a second, why is my notify client button not working? That's because you either don't have an estimate contact or the estimate contact you have does not have an email address. The other way, of course, you can get this to your client is to print it. You can create up to 3 of each printout type. So I could have 3 different estimate printouts and 3 different estimate detail printouts. So you can build those out specific to certain clients or just specific to certain levels of detail they show. Or with different branding templates, you can get pretty fancy with your printouts. So you could always generate just a PDF of this estimate and then send it off to your client however you prefer. We do recommend that once you've sent it off to the client to be looked at, you move it to a status of submitted. It's a good habit to get into because let's say a month from now you want to see, hey, what estimates do I have sitting out there? What estimates are floating out there in submitted land? You can search for estimates by virtue of what their status is. Once the client does come back to you and says, hey, yeah, that looks great, you can move it to a status of approved, and that is definitely something we recommend you do. So let's say the client has agreed to this estimate, agreed to what we've offered, move it to a status of approved, and we're going to get a little message there just saying, hey, if you approve this, it means that if you try to change this estimate moving forward, it's going to automatically save a revision, which is actually great. So if you come back here and need to change a value, change an amount, etc., it'll save a new version of that. So let's go ahead and see how that looks. So let's hit continue. And then I go, oh shoot, you know what? I actually forgot to put in my printing values. I come to revise and edit things, and the system's going to give me a little message. It's going to create a revision, which is fine. I click revise. The system doesn't listen to me. There we go. And I can now put in what my printing costs are going to be and save that again. Gives me an opportunity to then change the approval status, so I can hit submit there. And what's nice is that under that little revisions tab, I'll be able to really easily see a history of the sort of ways in which this estimate may have changed over time. Excellent. Now, if the client has approved it, as they have, and you want to start tracking time and getting to work on this, you'll need a job. All we have right now is an estimate. We don't actually have a job in our system yet. What you'll need to do to get a job, really straightforward, you're just going to click the Add Job button. Add Job, that's going to move us away as well. We were on an estimate details page. Now, looking at our top left, we're on a job details page. Job details pages are made up of several tabs. First thing we're going to see, hooray, that description we wrote at the estimate has pulled over for us. We can always add to it or change it as needed as well. We've got several tabs here. The first one we've landed on is called the Summary tab. It's got quite a lot of useful information. We can see our estimate is approved. We've got 2 contacts on the job. We don't have any notes or emails yet. We don't have any tasks yet. We can see we've got 30 hours of estimated time, but none of that has been tasked. No time has been tracked yet. Lots of really great information on this page. We can also see in this cool little health bar that we've estimated just over 5 grand, but we haven't tracked any time yet. We don't have any actuals yet to compare to that. This can be a great page to come to say like, oh shoot, we've tracked 10 grand worth of time and we only estimated for 5. We may be in a pickle. Or be able to say like, oh great, we've only tracked 2 grand worth of time, we're almost done, and we estimated for 5, so we're doing really well on this job. On this tab, you'll also see a contacts tab, or on this page, I should say, you'll see a contacts tab. You can always go back and take a look at the estimate. Financials are a tab I'm a big fan of that won't look too interesting right now, but as you start to track time, invoice, you'll see a lot more information here, all in this nice one screen, just sort of the financials on this job. You'll also see any associated files, and there's even a reports tab to see and pull reports just specific to this job. Back on our dashboard, now again, I'm going back to the classic dashboard. The classic dashboard is great. It's a really good dashboard for time tracking. And we'll see in my jobs tile, which is right in the middle here on the classic dashboard, there right at the top is my new promotional posters job that we just added for Wolverine's wood carvings. And using the little clock icon, I can immediately start tracking time against this job. So I could say I did an hour's worth of copywriting. And that really is is how quickly you can have work in the system now. That took us about 20 minutes. I was reviewing each field as we went, but it can be really, really quick to just have jobs ready and open and time trackable. What we do see a lot of clients need and want, though, is to be able to task specific items for that job to specific people. The best way to do that, let's go back to our job. Now I can go back to my job either through my top nav bar here. There's that job because I worked on it recently. It's popping out in the view job. Or I can click on it right from here on my dashboard. Get back to my job details page. And there's a couple of ways you can proceed from here. What I usually say to clients is, okay, you need to assign someone, an individual, a specific thing they need to do on this job. Is it really just like one or two people that have one or two things to do? If that's the case, I think your best bet is to go with the Add Task button rather than Add Schedule. We'll look at Add Schedule in a moment, but Add Task button, really straightforward. We've only got a couple of required yellow fields, and we could say initial sketches, let's say. First drafts need to be done. I could put in as much detail as I want. There are lots of room to put in detail. I could then say, okay, that's due on a specific date. Let's do it at the end of the week. And that needs to be done by my junior designer. And I think it's going to take her 1.25 hours to get that done. And even if I had an associated file to go along with this, I could pin it here too, which is pretty cool. I can then submit that. And I've easily, just like that, added a task for the specific person for this job. On Pepper's dashboard, she would be able to see that task and track time to it. And back at the job information, which I can get to through the breadcrumb here, we can see amongst all our tabs, our task tab is now lit up. Can easily see that there is a task in place. And right from here, see the status of it. So I can see it's assigned. No time's been tracked to it yet, but it is sitting there ready to go. I will also see that task reflected on my summary tab, as well as that hour of time that I tracked earlier. You can see there's one task and it's sitting and open, and we can see now if I hover over that 1.25 hours worth of time has been tasked out. You can also see my actuals are starting to fill in here, so quite a lot of information again on this summary tab. Now, what other clients come to me with is they say, oh, I've got put the job in, that's great, but there is a lot that needs to happen. My estimate is keeping it pretty simple, pretty high level for the client to sign off on, but there's actually a million things that are going on in the background to get this done. And lots of individuals need to do lots of things to get this happening. If that's the case, then we do recommend you go with putting a schedule in rather than adding individual tasks. That could take a long time. From the job details page, you can just click Add Schedule, and then we're going to get a few choices. When we click Add Schedule, right, our top choice is this drop-down menu called Template. The system's saying, hey, okay, your first option is to use that structure of the estimate as the structure for the schedule. Just the initial structure, you're not stuck with it. Or do you want to go with using an MS Project file or templates that you have pre-created in your system? Now, those templates can be really, really helpful. We've seen clients do great things by building out those templates ahead of time, investing that bit of time to build those out. Because if, let's say, we've got our promotional posters here, let's say that whenever you guys do posters, there's going to be this number of things that need to happen in this order that are going to take roughly this amount of time. That maybe even need to be done by these people or these different departments. If you had that all pre-built out, we could come here and just pick the poster template and really have very little that we need to do. Otherwise, what you can do, certainly, and what we'll do in this case, is we're just going to use the current estimate structure, what we built out initially, as the initial structure for our schedule. And I'll show you how even going that way still can be very effective and really quick to sort of flesh that out to be a pretty fancy schedule. So I'm just going to pick that. Again, you do have some other options here, to change the title. My description has pulled over here as well. If you needed to change that, you could. And if you wanted to have a different person manage the schedule versus the person who was the AE on the job and estimate, you certainly can do that as well. There's lots of flexibility. I'm just going to click Submit. We're going to leave our job details page, and we're now again using our top left corner to figure out where the heck we are. We've got that schedule details page. And again, just to reiterate, adding schedules, you're certainly not required to do it. Some of our clients don't use them and are absolutely fine with that. Others use them really heavily, but there's no right or wrong answer. It's really whatever's best for you. So we've landed on our schedule details page, and we can see really exactly what we put in at the estimates just here. Nothing very exciting. We've got our numbers of hours for each of those items, and our expense came over as well, just in case we need to task people to run to the print shop, etc. What I recommend you do here is we're going to pick from either outline, manage, or full, and these are the three options through which we can add and edit this schedule. I usually go with manage. It's very middle of the road, but really, explore each of them, see what works best for you. Outline gives you very few columns to choose from. Manage gives you a few more, and full really is everything in the kitchen sink. Let's just go click manage. That's going to open the schedule up for us. We can see all these fields are now open and editable for us here. And it's very straightforward to really drag and drop, add, remove, tweak things around here as you see fit. What I think usually is the best bet is, let's say we've got art direction here and we've said, okay, we've got 12 hours worth of time for art direction. We maybe don't want people to just track time to art direction. Maybe we want to divide that into specific things people need to do. What I recommend is that we use this little plus button and add a few things, add some line items under art direction here. So I know for art direction, I'm going to have, AD for art direction part 1. I'm going to have art direction part 2. Let's say I'm going to have art direction part 3. And I know those are each under my bucket. So when people track time to them, should go to the art direction bucket. So I've got those 12 hours. So let's say I know 2 of them are going to be for art direction 1, 5, and 5. So now I've got my 12 hours here. Once you have those 12 hours sort of divvied up into smaller pieces, make these 3 items, just again in my example, children of the art direction sort of parent. And I can do that just by dragging them in, making them child tasks of art direction. Now this again, it's an optional step. You can just really tidy that up. Now hopefully you're seeing why, our 12 hours, where did it go? When you make something a parent task, it does lose its associated hours. So that's why it was important that we took those 12 hours, divided them across our individual tasks before we made these children of that parent task. Same thing could be done with copywriting. Put a couple of things under copywriting. So I could say copywriting 1, and I could put in, there's lots of room here beneath to put in a big description if you need to. I'm just trying to keep it simple here. Copywriting 2, I want those to go to the copywriting bucket when people track time. And let's say one's going to take 7 hours, one's going to take 3. So I've divided up my 10 hours. And once I've done that, make these child tasks. Oops. So it can start to look quite nice and quite nicely organized here. Now you don't have to get to this, level of fanciness. You could leave it just as it is and just assign the whole art direction bucket out to someone if that's how you operate. Things are all in blue. That's just, again, letting us know that things are unsaved, so we can always hit save and continue. It's not a bad idea to do that as you go along. Now, we've got those divided up and made out, but who's going to do the work on them? It can be pretty quick here to just say, okay, for art direction 1, that's going to go to Edward. That needs to start on next week and needs to be done by this date. Once you have a person's name in the to field, you will see that the status field opens up. Right now it's sitting in draft, so if Edward were to log into his system, he wouldn't actually see that task on his agenda yet. Once it's in assigned, it'll show up on his dashboard, and he can start tracking time to it. So again, it gives you a nice level of control in that you can have this schedule really, really thoroughly built out, but leave things in a status of draft before you are ready for them to start working on it. And then as you see items become completed, move those subsequent items out to an assigned status so they show up on the person's dashboard. Now you don't have to go line by line. Let's say all the copywriting needed to be done by one person. I can highlight and pick all the copywriting items and use this top bar to make bulk changes. And change things all at once for the chunk of items I've selected. So that can be a great time saver as well as doing some of that batch editing. Once you've got this all built out, you can save and finish it. And again, once any of these line items are assigned to a person and in an assigned status, they'll show up on that person's dashboard. If we save and finish here, there we go, and go back to our job details, that's the place I really like to be, is the job details. I can get there through my breadcrumb. I'm just a fan of job details because it gives you so much information. So if we went to our summary tab here, once it gets going, come on, summary tab. Summary tab is taking a nap. There we go. All coming through now. We can see we now have 8 tasks. 6 are sitting in draft, 2 are sitting in open. So a lot of information right off the bat. We can see we've now tasked out 3.25 hours. We can come and take a look at our schedule tab to take a little refresher as to where we're at with that schedule. Our task tab is going to be even more fleshed out now. There we go. So you can see everything that's here. We can even see what that first one we made is not on the schedule versus all the ones that are, what status they're in, and what time, if any's been tracked to them. So a lot of information here. And then back on our dashboard, our job's still going to be up in the top for us once it loads for us here. There's our job. And then tasks, if we had any, would show up in our tasks and to-dos panel. Now, something that's kind of fun that people seem to forget is that you can filter a lot of the information here. So because I've been the person that assigned out those tasks, rather than see what's assigned to me, hey, let's take a look at what's assigned by me. Excellent. We can see there for that promotional posters job, there's ad one that's been signed out to Edward. There's that initial sketches we assigned out to Pepper, etc. So you can filter and very quickly get a different look as to what's going on. Excellent. Well, we're at half past the hour. I'm progressively losing my voice as I tend to on all webinars. Quite amusing. Excuse me. So I haven't had any questions yet, which is fine. I know that's a really quick and maybe like hopefully not, I should say, overwhelming little introduction. Again, the goal of this webinar is really aimed towards those clients who are trying to get up and running really quickly, maybe want to see this process ASAP, maybe before they've gone through the formal add an estimate at a job session with their onboarding consultant, just to see how quickly you can get from making that estimate to already being tracking time and building out schedules. I know that for new clients, as it was for me as a new user, it can feel a little like, holy smokes, there's a lot of decisions I need to make. But I promise you, very quickly with practice, this is just going to be no issue for any of you. It's really quick to learn, very straightforward once you sort of get familiar with the navigation and how you easily you can navigate around. I think you'll all be experts in no time. So what I'll do is I'll leave the GoToWebinar session open for another 5 minutes or so. I'll stop yapping, but I'll keep my screen shared. And if someone does have a question that comes up, do be encouraged to type it in. If something occurs to you after today's session, please reach out to whoever your onboarding consultant might be. It might be me, it might be Amanda or Karen. Just reach out to us directly. Or you can always reach out to the group just via training@functionpoint.com, and then one of us will respond as quick as we can. This session is set to happen every Wednesday, so feel free to sign up again, or if you've got a colleague that you think it would be a suitable session for, please encourage them to sign up. I'll try to have a cough drop in my mouth next week so that I don't lose my voice as much as I did today. Excellent. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for joining in today. I know you've got a lot on your plate, so appreciate you taking the time to come and hear me chat, and look forward to having you all up and running very shortly. And again, I'll leave the session running for another few minutes, and you can type your questions in there. Thanks so much.